grade, and welcome to day 2 about the 13 original colonies. So, we started with day 1 and we learned our learning intention is going to be we are learning to compare and contrast in a triple Venn diagram the 13 original colonies by New England, is what that should say, colonies, the middle colonies, and the southern colonies. So, let's start with New England colonies. We kind of touched on this on day 1. But we're going to review a little bit about the New England colonies. So, the Massachusetts Bay Colony was settled by Puritans, which, if you remember, were a group kind of like the Pilgrims, but the Puritans wanted to purify the Church of England. Many towns in the New England colonies were also founded by Puritans. So, they also had very strict laws, which mean they had a lot of different ways that people needed to act, and not everyone agreed with these laws. So Roger Williams was an outspoken minister and a dissenter. A dissenter is a person whose views differ from those held by most people in the community. So, like if you all want to order pizza for dinner, but one person goes, "No, I want tacos." That's kind of like a dissenter. They do not want to agree with everyone else. Okay? So Williams was forced to leave Massachusetts, but he is the one who founded Rhode Island, which is also a New England colony. Anne Hutchinson was also a dissenter who was forced to leave Massachusetts. She believed in religious freedom, which is something we have in the United States today, that you can believe whatever you want. Okay, so if you want to be Catholic, great. If you want to be Christian, great. If you don't want to be any of those things, that's fine too. Okay. Then we had Thomas Hooker, who was a Puritan minister who left Massachusetts with some followers. He wanted religious and political freedom. So he didn't want to follow any laws, and he wanted to have whatever religion he wanted. He founded Connecticut. So these three people were actually heroes to different people who wanted to have different freedoms. In the middle colonies, King Charles II of England wanted his brother, the Duke of York, to capture the colony of New Netherland. Okay. So he brought warships, and neither side ended up firing a shot. So New Amsterdam was renamed New York, which is a state we now have in honor of the Duke. So that's how New York came about. The Duke of York gave parts of New Amsterdam to George and John. This area became the colony of New Jersey. Then there was William Penn, who was a Quaker, who was given a large plot of land by King. The king owed Penn's family a lot of money. So Penn founded the colony on Quaker beliefs, which is the Pennsylvania colony. It was the holy experiment, which means that they had a religion that everyone had to follow. Philadelphia was the city of brotherly love, became the first major settlement. Then moving on to the southern colonies, which actually became colonies later as we moved south. Maryland became a colony in 1632, for King Charles I gave land north of Virginia to Lord Baltimore. The Baltimore Ravens, if anybody's a football fan, Baltimore is in Maryland. Baltimore was Catholic, so he named the colony Maryland. It became a refuge or a safe place for Catholics and Protestants. Maryland was a proprietary colony, which was owned by proprietaries, which are the owners. Carolina. King Charles II gave 8 proprietors land between Florida and Virginia. Let's go back. In 1729, Carolina was split into North and South Carolina. So they became a colony way before they were split into North and South Carolina. It was just Carolina for a long time. Georgia. James Oglethorpe was the founder of Georgia. English jails were crowned with debtors. Debtors are people who owe money. Okay. Georgia was founded to release debtors and have them work for themselves in America. Georgia is located between Florida and the Carolinas. Florida belonged to the Spanish at this time. So Georgia helped protect colonies from the Spanish. It was basically a barrier between Florida and Carolina. Oglethorpe wanted peace with Native Americans and met Tamochichi to divide the land. So, how did they get their names? I always think this is interesting. So, Connecticut got its name after the Indian word Connecticut, which means land along the tidal river. Georgia was named after King George II. Delaware was named after the Delaware Bay and River, which were named after Lord De La Warr, the governor of Virginia. Maryland was named after the wife of King Charles I, Queen Henrietta Maria. Massachusetts was named after the indigenous people, the Massachusetts. New York was named after the Duke of York, James Stuart, who later became King James II. New Hampshire was named after the English county of Hampshire. New Jersey was named after one of the islands in the English Channel. North and South Carolina, named by King Charles II in honor of his father, King Charles I. Virginia was named after Queen Elizabeth I, who was often called the Virgin Queen since she never married. Pennsylvania was named in honor of William Penn's father, meaning Penn's Woodlands. Rhode Island was named because the red clay reminded the explorer of the red clay on the Greek island of Rhodes. So, our learning intention was that you were going to compare and contrast the 13 original colonies. So, here is a Venn diagram for you to compare and contrast. You will have access to these slides to help you, or you may do research on these approved websites. So, here are some links for you that you can go and do some research. And here, let's look at the assignment on which you'll be either drawing on your own paper. So, comparing and contrasting the colonies. So, what we want to see is that the New England, Middle, and Southern. So, you're actually going to have 3 circles. So, in the middle, these are in common for New England and Middle colonies. And the very center is for all 3. Southern, Middle, Southern, New England. So, and then these are just on their own. So, I would like to see about 2 or 3 things in each of these categories. 2 is fine, but 3 is best. So, you can use the slides from today. You can also use the slides from day 1 if you want to go back to Tuesday. And I have links to these 2 sites that you may also use for information. I would like to see these due on April 20th, which is next Monday. Gives you a couple days to think about it. And thank you so much for coming to Social Studies today. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.